a director who wants to film the experience of the authentic female orgasm.
Yes.
Welcome to Sincast, presented by Cinemasins.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the Sincast. This is Chris Atkinson from Cinemasins, joined as always by the voice of Cinemasins, Jeremy Scott.
Yow!
And from Music Video Sins, Barrett Share.
Champions! We're going to be champions today. Somebody's going to be champions today.
Yes, indeed. We are doing the final four of our Marvel vs. DC bracket.
I'm Batman. I am Iron Man.
I'm always angry.
As far as I'm concerned, that's America's ass.
It will actually be a Marvel versus DC championship because two DCs are going up against two Marvels. Two DCs will be going one champion and one part of the championship, and two Marvels will be going into the other part of the championship.
Yes, indeed. I like the machinations that you were doing.
Yes.
Look like Vogue.
That's right. Doom, 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 doom. Let's get right into it. This is a clash of the titans right here.
Mm.
This is one of the biggest, flick chart type of things that could ever come up in your day-to-day, like what's better.
Mm.
And it depends on how you look at things, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But it's The Dark Knight versus Road to Perdition.
Hey.
Now we have, as Road to Perdition has continued to advance, we have pissed off more and more people.
Yes,
who did not believe,
including me.
including Chris, who did not believe it should necessarily have even been in the competition.
Well, here's the thing. I know that at the beginning of this, it was like I was picking Road to Perdition because of the quality in general that it had. Now it went up against X2 first and foremost, and perhaps if X2 had made it farther and Road to Perdition came at this point in the thing, I might have gone X2 in that point, but I hadn't fully formed what I thought would be the idea of this whole thing. I think once Road to Perdition is going up against real heavy hitting comic book movies that are not only great as comic book movies, but they're great movies and everything. That's where I started to wane a little bit. But Road to Perdition went through 3 amazing movies.
Oh, shit.
And it took me till Iron Man to finally get to the point where okay, enough's enough. Iron Man wins this. It goes up against The Dark Knight, and I think The Dark Knight is one of those rare comic book movies that are not only great as a comic book movie, but as a regular movie. For sure. And so now it goes up against Road to Perdition, which is obviously great as a movie, but its comic book status is still kind of up in the air, especially from what we've heard from the people who listen to this.
Yeah.
So what's your criteria on picking between these two movies?
Well,
that's what it comes down to.
Yeah. If it comes down to performances, who gives the best performance outside of Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight? Christian Bale is very good. Michael Caine is very good.
The guy wearing hockey pads was pretty good.
Guy wearing hockey pads was great.
I'm not wearing hockey pads.
Yeah, I mean, Heath Ledger is that movie. The Joker is that movie. It's weird that a villain can carry the day. With Road to Perdition, you've got some of the best acting of these legendary careers. You've got some of the best acting from Tom fucking Hanks, Paul fucking Newman, Jude fucking Law.
Is there any
kid?
Is there the fucking kid? Is there anybody that doesn't deserve a fucking in their name?
Daniel fucking Craig. Have you ever seen Daniel Craig be better than he is in Road to Perdition?
No, because Road to Perdition is one of the only characters he's played that felt human.
Yep.
Like James Bond doesn't feel human.
Which is funny because he's the least human character in the movie.
No, I get that. Yeah, no, but I
maybe Jude Law.
know human beings like that.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know anybody that's like James Bond. And he's, I guess he's been in some other stuff, but he's usually so stoic, and seeing him just kind of play that extreme, like, fuck up son who drinks too much and is a little too carried away with the gangster business. And it's all a pissing contest.
It is. It starts by that, I think maybe his first line, where they're at the party or that they're at the wake, and he smiles at the younger brother, and he starts laughing. He's like, "What's so funny?" He's like, "Because it's all so fucking insane." Yeah. And you're like, "Whoa!" Yeah. He's smiling at Tom Hanks and Paul Newman playing the piano with each other
because he's jealous.
But then that's how it manifests itself. God, I love that movie.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good.
What do you think?
What do I think? I think I have been ready to vote about this since last week.
Yeah.
And no matter how I vote, a part of me is going to feel ashamed.
Yeah.
I'm turning my back on something I love.
I mean,
not really, but I think a lot of people, not a lot of people, but some people look at it that way.
Can I go ahead and say my vote?
Go for it.
I'm going to vote The Dark Knight.
You motherfucker. No,
despite everything that I said, if you put both of these movies in front of me, it's really a true coin flip because I would love to watch either one of them. I think maybe 51 times out of 100 I would choose The Dark Knight just for the spectacle. The spectacle's so fucking. I could just watch that first scene and be entertained. I could just watch even the confusing chase scene of the car thing on Whacker. I could watch the ending. Like this movie, top to bottom, is just excellent. And Road to Perdition is so fucking geniusly made, but it's slightly less entertaining. I can't even believe I'm saying that, than The Dark Knight.
Okay.
Well, it's interesting. Both of these movies have a Chicago connection, and I do love that scene in Road to Perdition when they go to Chicago and it does that pan up to an old timey. It always reminds me of The Untouchables when I see that scene. Of course, we're dealing with the same characters with Al Capone.
Is Nitty I'm sorry. In The Untouchables, is Nitty the rat-faced second in command in The Untouchables?
That gets pushed off the roof.
Yeah.
And doesn't look anything like Stanley Tucci.
He screamed like a stuck pig.
Yeah, he's the one that kills Sean Connery, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I think Road to Perdition probably has better overall acting, a better score, but I'm picking The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's not even as close as it probably sounds.
You think Road to Perdition has a better score?
Between these two movies?
Yeah, so, yeah.
Because ultimately, God love him, Hans Zimmer is a Hall of Famer. But the Dark Knight trilogy score is just percussive beats.
Yeah.
It just
runs together.
And there's a couple of deep kind of horn swells that act as a bit of a theme, but it's nothing to compare to what Giacchino would do with it, and Zimmer's getting more and more exploring this kind of noise as music thing the more he works with Nolan, which he's not doing on Nolan's new film, Tenet, because Zimmer could not turn down Dune, the chance to do the music for Dune. And so Nolan's going to work with a new composer. That could be interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, Dark Knight, yes, it's superior.
Yeah, Dark Knight has a football on the groin. I'm picking that.
Yep.
But I think, like last week, I said Iron Man because I feel like if you flip-flopped our brackets from the last time we did this, Road to Perdition easily wins that. But when you make it about comic books, Iron Man takes the lead in this type of bracket. In this case, I'm not sure I would pick Road to Perdition in either bracket. That's how good Dark Knight is.
Thought experiment. If we had Iron Man versus Dark Knight, which way would we go?
Still Dark Knight for me.
Yeah.
I would too.
Yeah.
I would too. And I think it'd be easier than Road to Perdition.
Somehow, maybe.
Even though we're doing comic book on comic book, excellent comic book on excellent comic book. Yeah, when I was just going down all the attributes for Road to Perdition, like I was like, maybe I could lean that way. But
Yeah.
The Dark Knight is definitely going to be hard to beat.
I believe that whatever doesn't kill you makes you stranger.
That's right.
And
That's Billy Fichtner in that.
Yes,
You
it
people are
is.
all dead.
Yeah, you guys know who you're stealing from. Yeah, who I don't even know is credited in that movie.
I don't know if he
really?
is.
Yeah, don't even know if he got credited.
Wow.
Like, and that would be a choice.
What is the deal with uncredited stuff? The actor gets to.
I think the actor can say. I think the actor can say, "Yeah, I'll work for you," blah blah blah, but don't credit me for whatever reason. And I don't know what it is. Sometimes it's because of, sheer like ego. Like I know that Gene Hackman took his name off the firm once he found out that Tom Cruise was going to have just his name on there, or like the big name, and he wasn't going to have any big name. So he just took I don't think he took his name off the credits, but he took it off all the marketing, and stuff. And I think sometimes it's just like a personal choice. Like maybe you didn't get paid your usual amount. I don't know what the choice is.
Haven't we wondered aloud before if his casting was a wink to Heat anyway?
What was he in Heat again?
He plays like some Hollywood producer.
Yeah, he's in Heat, and that's a big heist
Right,
movie, and
right,
it feels like the beginning of Dark
Yeah.
Knight is paying homage to Heat in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So maybe that had some. Maybe it was just a wink casting.
I know, but it's
don't
still
know.
just if the actor or actress themselves have final say on whether they're credited or not. I could understand like not wanting it on Welcome to Mooseport or something like that.
Yeah.
But, like the fucking Dark Knight.
I mean, I honestly don't know how that works. I'm assuming it has nothing to do with like a director going, "I'm not crediting you, asshole." I think it's more about the actor going, I don't feel like I'm a part of the big cast. And maybe my appearance will be like a surprise or something like that. Nobody will wonder what character I'm playing. I think it's cool to do that, especially when there's like surprise actors and stuff like that. But I mean, William Fichtner is not exactly like somebody who's like, "Oh yeah,
whoa!"
I love him,
I do too.
but he's not one of those type of guys. So
I mean, he should have taken his credit off of the Lone Ranger.
yeah, he should have. Yeah.
Fucking movie.
Yeah, and what was that movie he was in with? He was the Elysium. He was in Elysium too.
Oh, yeah.
He should have taken his name off that.
I like Elysium.
Was it Elysium? I think it was Elysium.
The one where Jodie Foster's hovering above.
and they have the medical things that can like heal people in a second. And William Fichtner's one of the rich people on the earth that's got one of these cars that. One of the
That movie had so much potential.
It did.
Yeah,
it did.
That's all.
You hate it?
No, but I don't like it.
Right in the middle.
Right in the middle. I would watch it if it came on and there weren't any friends.
There's a guy that we thought was going to be hot shit for a long time, Neil Blomkamp.
Yeah, and then he just
that's right. That was him, right?
He went from that to Chappie. Mm-hmm. Chappie was a letdown for all but like 6 people on the planet.
And those 6 people were D.
Anford and him and Slumdog Millionaire. But then he was going to do an alien movie, and then he wasn't.
Yeah.
And then he was going to do an alien movie, and then he wasn't.
Well, yeah, and was he on? I know that was it Guillermo or was it Peter Jackson was on Halo? Was he on Halo?
Oh, I think he was at one point.
Yeah,
but I don't know what his current project is.
I don't either.
I
I feel like the dude's talented. I feel like he should have some big project.
District 9 looks so fucking good for the budget he had. That you just give him a good... Maybe he's too insistent on writing his own stories because there's a lot in Elysium and Chappie that overlaps with District 9 in terms of elements of storytelling. But maybe he needs somebody else to give him a story to tell and he can shoot the shit out of it.
Yeah, Elysium looks exactly like District 9.
So does Chappie.
Yeah.
Have you seen Chappie?
Yes, in Chappie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I think we send all the Neil Blomkamps.
Yeah.
Okay.
We sent Chappie when it came out, and I think we even timed the D. Antwoord music
I do
video.
remember that.
Yeah.
Oh, God, that was amazing.
That was amazing.
Yep.
You're freaky, but I like you a lot.
We move on to the other Final Four matchup, which is the Avengers versus Spider-Man Homecoming. This is Disney Marvel versus Sony Marvel.
Yeah, baby. Battle Royale.
Yeah.
What else does Sony have to do? Does Sony still own part of Spider-Man?
Yeah, they own all of Spider-Man. They own the rights to film Spider-Man.
The distribution is Disney?
No,
nope.
they
Disney's not involved.
They made a special deal to allow Marvel to have creative control over Spider-Man Homecoming, but it's still Sony distributing the thing.
Yeah.
And Marvel gets there's no Disney logo in the front of it. There's a Marvel logo and a Sony logo.
Disney might get some sort of residuals from characters that come into their universe, but they're not involved in the.
That's interesting because Homecoming only has probably 3-4 minutes with Tony. And that's the only MCU
all
character.
told.
Well, and then
in the end, I guess
Captain America shows up in the little videos throughout.
That's true.
I guess Happy is a MCU character, so he's
Any character not Spider-Man that's in there that's been in is going to be from Disney Marvel.
But Sony still has full ownership of Spider-Man
Currently,
Yep.
yes.
And
when
Venom.
this deal expires, if they want to make Spider-Man movies on their own, they can. And they have had such a success with Venom, who they're not even cooperating with Marvel on. I don't see any reason why they won't do that. They made this deal because they couldn't make a good Spider-Man movie. Now they have done it, and they can probably keep their actor, or at least the audience at home doesn't know. Right? My mom doesn't know whether it's Sony or Marvel that made the last Spider-Man movie, so she just knows the latest Spider-Man movies have been good. My mom doesn't actually know that, by the way. My wife. And so, they could easily say, once this deal is done, we're going to do it all on our own, and you can't have them in the MCU anymore, and we're going to team them up with Venom, and then we're going to bring Carnage into the world. And
I don't know. I like him being tangentially affiliated with the Avengers. Probably more than I would like.
It's been fun. I don't see how this Tom Holland Spider-Man and Tom Hardy's Venom can coexist in a movie together at all. The tone is wildly different, and I don't know how that's going to work.
The tone of Venom was fucking crazy.
But it was veered hard into fucking crazy.
I would love to see.
Oh no,
Tom Holland in that.
I think they match perfectly. To me,
yeah.
To me, they do. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I think you could put Venom in a Spider-Man, movie, and they wouldn't skip a beat.
Imagine his reactions to Venom. Like, holy shit!
Yeah, he just bit the head off that lobster.
Well, Tom Hardy's portrayal of that is humorous enough that I think it just matches.
Tom Hardy versus Tom Holland. Ooh,
the Toms.
The Toms.
And they played father and son in
Lock. Oh, this is too perfect to ignore.
Yeah,
it's got to happen now,
It's
guys.
all about money, man. It's all about money. And Venom made a shit ton of money.
Yeah, and I think you could get away with doing a one or two off, where he remains in the MCU. Spider-Man does, but then he goes on an adventure with Venom, and then comes back to the MCU.
They may let Marvel rent him. Like, we're gonna make our own Spider-Man Venom storyline, and you can rent Spider-Man for some Avengers team-ups if you want.
But the point is that they can do that. Sony can do.
Yeah, Sony has all the say.
Gotcha.
Now.
Interesting. It's
and
funny.
That's why
they just benefit by saying we're part of the MCU, and that so I think everybody's getting paid their money and everybody's happy, and
pay that man his money.
Yeah.
That's funny to think of Sony as the underdog in this whole thing.
Is the tell at the end of Rounders that he eats it
when he has
the cards?
When he has a good hand.
But when he doesn't have the cards, he puts the cookie back together and sets it down?
It's the dumbest tell ever.
I was going to say, but does the movie ever explicitly say that with dialogue, or just show it to you?
No.
Okay.
It just says I just noticed his tell, and if you go through each time he did it, one time he did it at the beginning of the movie where he had the aces full. That's when he ate the cookie. The one time where he gets a huge bet thrown at him and he opens the cookie and puts it back together. He obviously doesn't have what we're considering the nuts, the best hand, which is essentially what that means. It's not really. I mean,
lay down a monster.
What kills me is that it could literally mean a good hand that you still beat.
Yeah.
And he's taking that to mean full on nuts every time. And so who knows?
We've never sent Rounders, right?
No.
We got a request on Pulp Fiction. I have a feeling that video would be like 30 minutes long.
Yeah.
Well, because you have all the poker stuff, but then you still have a movie, and you still have to send the movie.
Put Chris and Dicer on that.
Yeah.
It would just be fucking.
That if
we wouldn't even be able to understand.
Let's talk about Worm's plan.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's a lot of stuff in Rounders, man.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, I mean, they did this movie back in 1998 when nobody knew anything about poker.
Yeah.
When I watched the movie the first time, I knew nothing about poker. But now when you go back and, you see all the things in there, the dramatic force behind that movie is the fact that he lost to the best hand possible. And he said he got outplayed. And that's what sends him on this, like, I can't play poker anymore thing.
Sends him to law school.
Yeah, that and Gretchen Mall. Of course, Gretchen Mall will do that to you.
Yes, she will.
But anyway, it's been... Obviously, Rounders has been done by like poker professionals too. Like Doug Polk's done a whole like breakdown of a lot of the hands, because he still does like breakdowns of actual hands that happen in the world. But he's done Rounders before.
Did you see that video with Penn Jillette breaking down
Yes.
magic tricks in movies,
Yes.
almost all of which were bullshit? Like,
Right.
There's some Now You See Me tricks in
Yeah.
there, and the Prestige and the Illusionist, and he basically explains this is a real trick, this is how it's done, or this is bullshit, it's just movie magic. It's pretty funny.
Oh, he's actually saying like the people that pull off magic tricks for real in movies.
Yeah, so like he shows a scene from The Prestige where they're doing the water tank, and he says this is based on a real trick. Plenty of people do that, and Houdini was made tricks like this, and he explains sort of how it was done by people who did that trick. But it's all he's being shown different tricks from movies and TV shows, and just kind of doing commentary on them.
Yeah,
check that out.
It's really fun.
No, it's a good video. Anyway, I think Spider-Man: Homecoming is better than the Avengers.
I know you do. I know you do.
The Avengers and Spider-Man: Homecoming. How do we break this down?
Oh, Jesus.
You know my thoughts on the Avengers, that I think Chris appreciates it as a concept, as the fact that this is able to be done, brought together. But I just like it like as the movie. I love all the build up. I love the banter. I love the stuff between Cap and Tony. You get the whole like, who do you think you are, a billionaire philanthropist, something playboy. That's so nonchalant. Like he's got that cocked and loaded to
He
go.
does.
As soon
He
as
does.
somebody says, "Who do you think you are?" He's like, "Yes, finally,
I can use that line. Jerk store.
So I love all that stuff. I even like the Clark Gregg stuff. I like that when Loki is imprisoned, he gets visited by, a couple
Three
of
spirits.
characters.
Oh,
Three
wait.
spirits. Well, it kind of is. It's Black Widow and it's Fury and it's Clark Gregg. Yeah, and I don't think these whole good guy mashups like Hulk versus Thor and Thor versus Cap versus Tony, they make sense to me in the context of the movie.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's not like Civil Wars where they've got established relationships at that point. This one they don't.
Yeah.
So I agree with you on that. Like you just said, the Avengers never really appealed to me throughout until it got towards that last third or so of it and everything. It's fine. I don't hate it. But
do you like the action in this? Well, obviously, if you like that last third.
Yes. Well, look, the last third also has some of the worst shit in it, too. Like, just them destroying everything, kill all these aliens and stuff.
Nuke in New York.
But it's also, like, got all the lines. It's got all the moments. It's got all the things that,
He's got the gun cocking.
Yeah, he's got the gun cocking. It's everything that you remember Avengers about. Like, there's that whole thing where what is that part where I think the flying base is like what is that?
The helicarrier?
The helicarrier. Mm-hmm. There's that whole thing where they got to fix all the shit.
Yeah, they got to do engine work.
Yeah, they got to do engine work.
Yeah.
And that doesn't appeal to me. Then they have like they have Loki in there and he tricks them into getting out of his little glass case of emotion and all that, and that's fine. I like all that. But it's that movie has never like just been like a super home run for me. I'm picking Spider-Man: Homecoming knowing it's not going to win.
Oh, I actually don't know what Jeremy's going to choose, because I will pick the Avengers. I hate picking against Spider-Man: Homecoming, but we've detailed its problems.
I'm fully prepared for the people on Facebook to say that my pick of Spider-Man: Homecoming over Avengers is worse than the Road to Perdition over Iron Man thing. I'm expecting that.
I love Spider-Man Homecoming the way I love people and pets. It's very flawed, but it's very comforting to me.
Yes, it is.
And when I go to it, I feel good.
One thing while you're thinking, it does have a great use of the Spoon song called The Underdog.
That is not a reason to vote for a movie.
Well, I thought about it because this came on yesterday, 2 days ago. And when he's walking home from school when he's texting Happy all the thousands of times and everything, it's like, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. That's The Underdog by Spoon.
That's awesome.
It's just a nice little thing thrown in there.
I did tweet several months ago about the song that's playing. It's that sooner or later, run away, let you down. And as he's learning to dance and then eventually walking up to his date's house, and the lyrics in there are like, you'll run away and let me down. Sooner or later, you'll be found out and hit the ground. And it all actually works with what's about to happen thematically. It's not a better movie than The Avengers. I think I had seen two great, fun Spider-Man portrayals. I think Tom Holland is the best of the three, but not groundbreaking and new in the way that The Avengers was in terms of both bringing together several heroes, but cheer-worthy moments. And we've had Infinity War where we get the moon being thrown by Thanos, and then we get Thor coming down and he's all like, "Hey, you guys are screwed now," and there's these moments, right? But before the Avengers was the first one that gave us these, where Iron Man shoots his laser off Cap's shield, and he turns into Hulk right before he punches that huge ship, and then the puny god thing, and there's just about 5 or 6 moments in 20-25 minutes there that no superhero movie had ever given us. And for that reason, I'm voting Avengers.
Nice.
I think objectively, The Avengers is a better movie. I just like Spider-Man Homecoming
That's
better.
totally fair.
It's one of the biggest laughs that I've heard in a theater in a long time. Maybe not ever. But the first time because I saw it opening weekend, the first time that he's in the middle of monologuing and Hulk picks him up.
Oh, yeah.
And fucking
Believe
wrecks
me,
his
that's
ass.
a moment that one of the last moments in movie theaters where I actually went in, checked audience reaction for. We started Cinemasins in 2012 and I finished in 2013. The Avengers was one of the last movies that I actually, because the midnight shows for that movie was insane. And they were just off enough that I could go to each auditorium and see it in each one, and you just knew how huge of a hit this was going to be on that alone. I mean, that one scene is all it really needed to be that big of a hit. Almost.
Oh my god.
But yeah, that was a scene that you knew. How,
it's so good.
Yeah.
I the first time I showed it to my son, I was like, "Oh my god, it's coming up! It's coming up!"
Yeah.
Versus Spider-Man: Homecoming, when I knew that the porn line was coming up,
and you had to distract yourself.
started talking. You like the movie, son? What do you think so far?
That's the biggest laugh in the whole movie, too.
I know. I don't want him to start at what is porn.
No. Of course, it's inevitable.
Spoiler alert: he knows what porn is.
Spoiler alert: last podcast you talked about Reddit porn.
He doesn't listen to this shit.
All right.
It's funny, there's a couple of instances.
Go to bed.
There's a couple of instances in my life where I knew that young kids were watching videos of ours that they shouldn't have. One was my nephew when he was 6 or 7 or whatever, and he was just randomly quoting sins from a video like The Room. That I was like, you saw that video. Even though my dad, even though your dad is saying that, oh, I don't let him watch blah, 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 you can't watch him 24 hours a day. And I've been to other friends' house where apparently the kid loves Cinemasins and all that. And it's like, oh no, don't watch those, watch these. And I'm like, you haven't stopped him from watching these other ones the other times that you aren't around.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, maybe your kid hasn't seen porn, but I bet he's heard of it.
He's definitely heard of it. By the way, I went to a neighborhood picnic about a month ago, and one guy came over and asked what I did, and I mentioned Cinemasins. And this other couple next to us was like, what? And I was like, yeah, Cinemasins. Actually, I said, work on a YouTube channel. And he asked what it was. I said Cinemasins. And they were like, whoa. And they knew every video. This is a young couple with 2 kids that knew every video and everything. And so the guy who initially asked me was like really interested in it. He was like, man, that sounds awesome. I can show some of it to my kids. And I was like, oh, I didn't see your kids here. And he was like, no, I'm a youth pastor at the Presbyterian church. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
And he's like, we're doing Vacation Bible School right now. We can show it to you.
Run away.
Like, no, man.
I went for a checkup to the doctor yesterday, and the doctor said, hey, you have a new book coming out soon, don't you? And I was like, how do you remember that? She was like, I only have one patient that's like a YouTuber. So you stick out.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Anytime like people just randomly are like, what's your channel or what's your website, which you get a lot too. And I'm like, it's Cinemasins, it's this and that and whatever. And I punch it in for them on YouTube and all that. That's the channel. I'm always like, I don't have any expectations that they're going to become fans or anything afterwards, but I'm always a little worried. Like once they see this, they're going to look at me in a completely different light.
Depends on which sin. Like there could be a video that'll make them laugh from start to finish, and then there'll be one.
Yeah,
like what happened to us in a meeting one time,
where
a perfectly well-intentioned sin popped up at the wrong time.
Yep.
She was loving it.
Yeah,
it's hilarious.
Oh my God!
God, I was so horrified.
Yeah, me too. Me
I
too.
just wanted to leave the
but
room.
it was very funny.
Yeah,
think about it.
She didn't seem bothered by it.
No. And she was working at a place that's very
no kidding,
testosterone fueled.
I think we cut it right at that point. We're like, okay,
yeah. So anyway, you get the point. Well, this leads to our championship. I think this is almost preordained in a way. The Dark Knight versus the Avengers.
It really is.
Yeah. It just feels like this. If you were to pick 2 movies, one from DC and one from Marvel, this would probably end up being what it is.
Yeah.
And all the stuff that we've been arguing about doesn't matter anymore.
It's a moo point.
It is a moo point.
Sorry, that's a Joeyism from Friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when tackling these 2 movies going up against each other, the heaviest hitters that there are, how do we decide what's the best movie?
We picked The Dark Knight.
We picked The Dark Knight.
That'll do it for this episode. Please go to Sincast, presented by Cinemasins, on Facebook. You can also get us on Reddit, Cinemasins Twitter, MVS Twitter.
Oh, this has been like 5 episodes of build.
There are a lot of places to go and reach us.
The ending.
What do you think? Do you think it should be Dark Knight or Avengers? Please give us your comments.
Were you going to vote Avengers?
We know. I think we all know that after I glowed about the Dark Knight and did not glow so much about the Avengers, that was where I was going. But
that was awesome.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah. The Dark Knight is a better movie, right?
It really is.
In every way.
Yeah. It really is.
It's a domination. Because the Avengers is arguably more fun.
I would say that.
But nothing can touch the scope, the spectacle, especially Heath Ledger's performance, the characters. Can't get close.
I know that this is morbid to think about, but I do wonder how we would perceive this movie had Heath Ledger not died. I know that's a big question that's been asked before.
Yeah.
Would he have won the Oscar? Would we consider this one of the best villains? I think we still would.
I certainly think I would.
Yeah.
I don't think he would have won the Oscar. I don't think he would have engendered enough goodwill. I forget. Well, that was 2008.
2008. Yep.
I don't know who he was up against, but like,
yeah, I can't remember either.
Do you think he would have won if he were still
my gut says no, just because the Academy does seem to get sentimental now and then. I think his performance would have been equally worthy.
I agree,
but
yeah.
I'm not sure they would have voted for him.
You think you would have?
Yeah, I don't even know if he gets nominated.
I think maybe because it was supporting actor, right?
Yeah,
obviously.
because there's a tendency of the Academy to look down on this type of material and comedies. And
I think if Johnny Depp gets a nomination for the first Pirates, I think Heath Ledger probably.
Oh man, I still don't know.
Yeah, I don't think he'd win though. For sure.
Yeah, I don't think he wins.
And then I think the perception of the movie might be different. Certainly, we've talked about this more than enough, but certainly Nolan is free to make a different movie for the third one.
Yeah.
And it sure feels like the way they are set up in The Dark Knight as the yin to each other's yang, they sort of need each other to exist to really be themselves. There's no way he wasn't going to have Joker affiliated with the third movie. If Ledger hadn't died, that might change our perspective on the whole series.
Yeah.
I do think that Heath Ledger, if he doesn't get nominated and doesn't win for this, eventually has some sort of prestige role.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Later that he wins for, because he's already on that track with Brokeback Mountain.
Mm-hmm. He didn't get nominated for Brokeback.
Yeah, he did.
He did.
Yeah. But
I just watched part of that yesterday.
I did too.
I love that moment. The first time they're leaving, when he comes down and Jake is like, "Oh, Gary came back and said bring him on down," and Heath Ledger's all mad. He's like, "Cutting us out of another month's, pay, that son of a bitch." Jake is like really nice. He's like, "Hey, I can lend you some money if you want." And my favorite part of the whole movie, this is stupid. Ledger goes, "I ain't in the poorhouse," and then he kicks some snow and goes, "Shit." He would have won an award, I think, eventually.
And I do wonder what the box office performance of The Dark Knight would have been too, considering Batman Begins was a decent hit. It was, it was perfectly fine. I think that Warner Brothers, in basking in the days of their older the Batman, probably looked at it as a little bit of a disappointment. Maybe not. I don't know. But it felt like it was like we are beginning again. We're trying to shed that old Batman. We're trying to do the new Batman, and maybe they liked how that first one got. But it would be interesting to know what the box office performance of The Dark Knight would have been had that not happened as well, because this is the other morbid part of it. It came a perfect storm for that movie because it happened just a couple of months before. I think it was a couple of months before the movie was to come out. And it sort of had this wave of emotion coming towards it as it got released, and it opens with a fabulous Joker scene and a great entrance and everything, and you can just feel the tension and the excitement for his performance immediately as when he pulls his mask off.
Yep.
And has that great line as he comes in. So anyway, we'll never know how we would have. It's just a fun sort of like what if.
Warner Brothers tried to kill Tom Hardy.
What?
To see if they could replicate.
Oh yeah. Hey, I think we've come up with a pretty good storyline for like a mystery novel or whatever.
They keep killing off agents.
Yeah. Killing off the main star was horrible and tragic, but it's doing wonders for our bottom line.
Can't you see a satire, something like Josie and the Pussycats, the way they play with marketing? Couldn't you see somebody making a movie where a studio executive like Tom Cruise's character from Tropic Thunder goes, "Well, we got an award and $1 billion, so let's kill the villain in this next movie."
Exactly.
Oh man, that's terrible.
Oh, it's so terrible, but true in a way. We all picked the Dark Knight. Dark Knight's champ. I think a lot of people predicted that when this whole thing was set up. I think it's easy to say, well, MCU is so dominant and everything that one of the MCUs would come through. But every time the Dark Knight stacks up against anything.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really anything head to head. It didn't have the hardest path to this in our minds, at least.
Right,
it went up against Endgame.
Even if it goes
Doctor
against,
Strange.
even if it's Avengers right off the bat, we're picking Dark Knight,
Yeah.
and And then what challenges it then? It's not Infinity War, and it's not, there's a lot of different big, strong movies we could put up against, and it just wouldn't.
Yeah, Black Panther, I guess, was its
I would say
challenge.
so. Yeah, that's the only one that wasn't unanimous, I think.
Yeah, and even Road to Perdition. I wanted to, but I couldn't pull the trigger. Unlike Tom Hanks, I couldn't pull the trigger.
There you go.
That does it. We've settled it. The Dark Knight's the best comic book movie ever.
Yes. And so, DC people and Marvel people, DC was well represented all the way through this bracket.
Yep.
So I think it turned out to be more even than even we expected.
More even than even.
Yeah.
More human than human.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. As the famous poet White Zombie was.
Famous poet.
What was that based on? More human than human? Oh, it's Blade Runner.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, wow. That doesn't make me like the song anymore. No, I can't do it.
Like him? I love that song.
I love that song too.
Hey guys, it's time to talk about Mubi again.
Yeah, baby.
I've seen in the last time we talked about Mubi, I've seen 3 movies on the service.
Ooh.
2 of them will not be there when you listen to this. One was Alfred Hitchcock's Blackmail.
Oh yeah, good stuff. This was his early ones, right?
Yeah, very early and very just like to the point. Like these old movies are like 70 minutes long or whatever, and it's like, okay, here's what happened. Here's the main conflict, and we're gonna solve it in 10 minutes. But no, it was good, but it's not like Hitchcock's best or anything like that. It did require a little bit more substance for me, but it's very Hitchcockian. Then I saw a movie. This is an interesting one to talk about for the ad. The Lullaby to the Sorrowful Mystery. I only watched this as a pure endurance test.
Oh.
Because the movie is, I am not shitting you, 8 hours long.
Oh, wow.
It kind of scrambled my brain.
Yeah. It's a movie from the Philippines that came out, and it's about the Philippine Revolution in 1896.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, I obviously didn't watch it in one sitting. I watched it over time. But I was like, is this a movie that requires 8 hours of length? And the answer is, of course, no. It's a great and interesting topic because I didn't know that there was a Philippine Revolution involving Spain back in 1896 and that it directly led into the Spanish-American War later. Did not know any of that, although I don't think they talk about the Spanish-American War in that movie. But yeah, that movie's 8 hours long, man. It's one of those. It's like, it's weird. We're doing a movie ad, right? We want you to go to Mubi. I can't recommend that movie, but there are movies like that,
yeah, man,
that you can come on and watch and see for yourself, and that's the point, right?
Yeah,
there's all these movies that you would never see in theaters or around on like Netflix or anything like that. You would just, it
broadens your horizon.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that I watched it, even though I don't think it required 8 hours long.
Yeah, I know. I mean, you've got such variety. You've got these obscure things, and you've got lesser known Hitchcock stuff. Mm-hmm. But you've got Joss Whedon doing Much Ado About Nothing in black and white, which is delightful.
Oh, yeah, it's a great one.
You've got Robert Altman doing Dr. T and the Women.
Oh, yeah.
Which features Kate Hudson and Liv Tyler.
Yeah, doing their thing.
You've got Tim and Eric doing the comedy.
Yeah, which I saw the comedy, and an interesting movie because they're doing. I don't know if they advertise it this way. Mubi advertises it this way as an anti-comedy. And like, so it's almost like they're not trying to set up jokes and stuff, but like there are moments, and I showed 2 to Barrett, where just out of nowhere, the most profane but hilarious dialogue comes out of these guys' mouths.
The greatest.
The movie itself is just interesting to watch. It's a good like character study of an asshole. Yeah, essentially what it is. But like out of nowhere, you'll just get these like really funny, profane dialogue moments, and it catches you off guard, and so it's some fun stuff.
And I've got one more to recommend and warn.
Yeah?
I guess. It's called The Exterminating Angels. Have you ever seen this, Jeremy?
Mm-mm.
This is it's a very porny premise.
Now I know why you asked me.
The guy, okay, it's a French film, Jean-Claude Brissot, in 2006. It's about a director who wants to film the experience of the authentic female orgasm.
Yes.
So he goes about this by doing casting calls to young French beautiful women.
Mm-hmm.
And he eventually gets 3 that could audition for his movie. And during these auditions, they literally, and it's very forthcoming, the movie is, of them bringing themselves to orgasm. There's no interaction by the director. It's not to get his jollies off. It's literally to just, I'm giving air quotes, to experience, to see it, to observe it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it goes on and on and on. And it turns out that, the women not only form relationships with each other, but also with him through some sort of transference and things like that. Movie is beautiful. Movie is so well done. It is, the acting performances are phenomenal. You will not be able to stop watching this, despite it being lurid in material. And the women are beautiful, and the guy is beautiful. And so I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
Went back and read about this Brissot feller.
Yeah.
And, oh, by the way, at the end of the movie, I'll spoil for you a little bit. At the end of the movie, the women charge him with harassment for making them do this.
Okay.
And he gets sentenced to a suspended sentence, basically. He gets convicted of this. And the character is like, how could this happen to me? This obviously wasn't my intent. I wasn't harassing them at all. This is absurd. And so you're meant to feel for this guy. Turns out the director of the movie had the exact same thing happen to him. He was convicted of harassing women during casting calls, and he made this movie as a fuck you. And it makes the experience in the aftermath of it make you feel icky.
Well, I was going to say, that changes things.
It changes everything.
You were talking about like how On the Waterfront was Elia Kazan sort of like, this is my story.
Mm-hmm.
This is me, like, giving my defense for what I've done and everything. And this is sort of the same kind of deal.
Yeah, even more explicit. I
Yeah.
mean, this is literally like the director in the movie is a stand-in for this guy. It's not even an allegory. It's just like, hey, fuck you. I'm going to show you that I didn't harass them. I never laid a finger on them. I just watched them finger themselves. So everything is fine. Right? And it doesn't diminish. And I'm recommending this movie because it's so well done. It doesn't diminish what is on the screen, but it does just make you question why this person did this. It also makes you question, can you separate art from the artist? Right? Because this guy...
Well, that's a clear, like, muddying the line there, right?
Yeah. So I'm glad I watched it. I'm glad that I had these thoughts about, like, how I feel about it. Anyway, we've effused, obviously, a lot about this. There's so much interesting, fun, thoughtful stuff that goes into this service. Sign up. If you ain't already signed up, sign up. It's Mubi.com/Cinemasins, MUBI.com/Cinemasins. Full month free. Full month.
At the 100% off.
So do it so you can so you can watch the Joss Whedon, the Much Ado About Nothing thing.
Yeah.
Watch you some Dr. T and the women and the
Yes.
and
nobody knows what that meant.
They will once they want.
Yeah, they will. They will.
And watch, some of these other things. I watched a little bit of the comedy with Chris yesterday, and it was such an interesting movie.
Yeah, like it's a wreck of Warren, like
totally.
in real life, but like it's one of those where like, man, there's some really funny shit in this.
Yeah, it's totally worth watching. So yeah, sign up today. Mubi.com/Cinemasins.
Yeah. Will we have some time for some recommends and warns?
Totes Amazeballs.
They're great.
It won the Academy Award
Oh, for what?
for Best Movie Ever Made.
Yes.
Okay.
Pistol packing mama.
Who wants to start?
I will tell you, I only have recommends today.
Ooh,
I didn't bring any warns, so
Bring
I will
the
do
positivity.
2 rounds of recommends. It's pretty rare for me to bring positivity, so I'll take it when I can get it.
By the way,
Yeah?
I saw a movie on Stars. I didn't watch the movie because it looked like hot garbage, but it looked like something that you would have seen.
I
Movie
feel
called-
complimented by that sentence.
Movie called Shock and Awe.
I've seen it. Woody Harrelson? Yeah. It's basically...
James Marsden and like 2 other Tommy Lee Jones.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of big people in it.
But it sucks, right?
It's terrible. It's basically... It covers a lot of the same ground W does, the Oliver Stone movie. Yeah, it's not worth watching. I was on that for about 12 minutes last night.
But it was, I mean, it looks like it's straight to VOD or whatever it is. I don't think it got a wide release.
No, I think it was one of those. I think it's very similar to that movie Woody Harrelson made with Julianne Moore about the governor of Alaska,
Palin?
Palin.
I didn't even heard of that. Have you heard
It's
of
called
What? The what?
Woody
Is it Woody
Harrelson
Harrelson?
is the Republican vetter for John McCain, who's played by Ed Harris.
And
they-
it's
Oh.
not the
What's the HBO?
it's not, is that the Julianne Moore
Mhm.
one? Yeah.
I don't remember what it's called.
Oh, it wasn't Margin Call, but it was on HBO. Though.
It was,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah.
And this Shock and Awe, I think is made by a similar outfit that wanted to make a political statement and disguise it as a movie.
Oh, I see. I liked that movie.
It's great, but you can't convince me that movie started as anything other than we're going to show the world how dumb Palin is.
Yes, because McCain / Ed Harris comes off as fairly good-natured and like principled, but he
Yeah.
made this one mistake.
Well, and everybody in that movie, everybody comes to regret Palin.
Yeah,
Everyone.
Game change.
Game change. It's a good film. Shock and Awe, not so much.
Okay,
But I have seen it.
I made the warn for you. Sorry,
There you go. Do you want to give us a recommend or a warn? What do you got?
I've got a wreck a warn. I've got a wreck a warn.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen Stranger Things Chapter 3 or Season 3?
I have not yet.
I have not ever seen Stranger
You've
Things,
never seen an
and I
episode.
feel attacked.
The first season of Stranger Things I watched within 3 days of it coming out, and the season 2 I watched it when it came out. The season 3 came out when I was in Vegas, and I just didn't have like a moment where I was like, yeah, let's just watch this now. So I'm still waiting. Hopefully it won't get spoiled for me.
How did you like the second season?
I remember the second season being good except for the one episode.
Yeah, it was fine, but it wasn't anywhere near how good the first season was.
No,
right?
no, I don't think so.
I'm starting to think this series is like Toy Story, where the second season of Stranger Things wasn't necessary, but it was good, and the third season is a little less good, but completely unnecessary.
I've seen 2 separate articles in the last week, like think pieces that were like, hey, Stranger Things fans, the 80s actually sucked for anyone who lived through them. Don't let this show make you think it was fun and, happy days.
No, I mean that first season had very similar vibes to it, where like you're just it's the 80s. The parents weren't as concerned about the safety of their kids and stuff like that. They could ride bikes in the neighborhood, get into shenanigans and stuff like that.
Right.
Season 3, not going to spoil anything for you, but they're a little bit older. I think they're about 15. Very much like Strings, right? The jump from season 1 to season 3. And so hormones are starting to come out and stuff like that. But it's done in what I think is so ham-handedly. It's and I put this in the email. I'm not blowing smoke up your ass, but I think you handled it a lot better in Strings than they do in this, because it's so, I don't know. It's, you have to experience watching it, and I'd like to see if you have the same thought about it, because at times it's way overdone and at times it's way underdone. There is no like happy medium where it feels authentic. Matter of fact, it sounds like I'm warning it more than I'm recommending it. I'll get to the good stuff later on, but this series seems very inauthentic. They made David Harbour's character Hop like a stripped down, overblown caricature of his negative personality for or his traits for most of the series. He's cranky and he's grumpy and he's drunky and all that stuff.
Yep.
Until not the whole time. They made Winona Ryder even more spacey. They made the kids even more like the Scooby Gang and stuff like that. Having said that, 11 is really, really cool to watch in this. They added a character. They fleshed out. Actually, I think she was in the previous seasons, and she's fantastic. Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman's daughter is in this.
Oh, yeah.
Maya Hawke, she's great. The kid that plays Dustin with the tousley curly hair and the tooth, he's great. So there's a lot to like about this, but like by the end of it, I was just like, yeah, I don't know that I feel happy that I spent whatever it was 7 hours on this binging it.
Mm-hmm.
But there is enough to like there that I would give it a Reckoned One.
I saw a trailer for a new Netflix show starring Iko Uwais, the guy from,
The Raid.
The Raid 2 and The Raid. It's called Wu Assassins.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Netflix show. It's going to be 10 or 12 episodes. The guy from John Wick 3, Mark Dacascos, who was that was a good fight, wasn't it?
The Iron Chef guy.
Yes.
Yeah. Was that guy Iron Chef? For sure?
He was the host of the Iron Chef show.
Oh, okay.
So he would always go, "Ay, cuisine!"
Was that the actual Japanese version or the American version?
The American version.
American version.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And Mark Dacascos was in the 90s like a wannabe action star who did he basically what Frank Grillo is now.
Yeah.
In terms of he made plenty of money making action movies you never saw.
Right.
He's
He's going to be in that?
Yeah, in fact, I don't know exactly. It's not super explained, but Iko is a chef, but he gets possessed, or he possesses the spirit of the Wu assassin. So everyone else sees Mark Dacascos, but it's actually Iko inside. And so some of the action scenes, you'll see Iko throwing punches, and they'll cut to another angle, and it'll be Mark Dacascos throwing those punches.
Oh,
So he's somehow
I'm
inside
so
this guy's
watching
body.
the shit out of this show.
Yeah, it looks pretty awesome. I saw the trailer yesterday. So I'll recommend. I got to recommend.
All right.
My first one will be I recommended on a live broadcast once when we were asked about our favorite miniseries, and I said From the Earth to the Moon.
Uh-huh.
And HBO, for the 50th anniversary of the moon landing, Apollo 11, HBO reran the whole of From the Earth to the Moon. And if you have not seen it in a while,
Mm-hmm.
you are not prepared for how many fucking famous people are in this. I don't know how many of them were not famous at the time. Tony Goldwyn, Bryan Cranston, the Brady Bunch dad from the movies.
Gary Cole?
Tim Daly. There's probably 24 actors you know their name by just looking at them.
This isn't the documentary. There was a
No.
documentary series.
This is a dramatization, and it goes all the way from some of the Gemini programs up to Apollo 13 even, and I think beyond, because they do the whole Lovell thing. But every episode, it's kind of like The Wire. Every episode focuses on a different aspect. So there's one whole episode that focuses on the media members, and Jay Moore is in that one. And
Huh.
he's trying to finagle interviews with the family and sell the lurid parts of the story, and the proper newsmen just want to tell the science. And but then the Apollo 13 episode is shown from the astronauts' wives' perspectives.
Oh.
It was really good. I had already remembered it being good, but it was better than I remembered. But the one thing I want to point out is so dumb. It opens every episode, the coming on of From the Earth to the Moon, if you will, samples a segment of that JFK speech where he declared we would go to the moon, and he mispronounces the word decade. So it's every episode opens with him. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and to do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
Yeah.
And so it's become a thing now where I'll just walk into a room my wife is in and go, we choose to go to the moon this decade. And then he says, and do the other things,
Yeah.
which is super vague.
Right.
Well, he had talked about, because that scene's actually in First Man.
Oh, is it?
He had said, like, why do you climb that mountain?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Why do you do this? Why do we go to the moon?
We
Then
choose
he's
to go to
referring
the-
back to
and
the
to do the other
other things.
things.
But it does sound weird if you start.
It reminds me of the other thing that you always bring up from my fellow Americans, the facade.
But anyway, I watched every single episode. I was riveted.
Yeah, I think I saw this when it came out, and I don't remember anything about it, but I remember liking it.
Yeah, and every episode has famous people in it that are great. This was 1998 when this was made.
Spielberg involved with this?
I think he threw some money at it. It was mostly Hanks.
It was Hanks that was
fresh off Apollo 13. He turned into a space nerd,
Right.
And made this, and also with Spielberg produced Band of Brothers,
Right.
fresh off Saving Private Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling that Hanks likes to really throw himself into these characters, and then becomes fascinated with the world that they're in.
He's going to remake Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
Yeah, I watched that trailer. Looks like a really good impression.
I don't care. I've seen Won't You Be My Neighbor, and I loved it, and I don't need to watch this movie.
That's kind of how I
It's
feel.
like Man on Wire versus
That's kind of how I feel.
The Wire.
That's kind of how I feel.
So I'm sure Joseph Gordon-Levitt's going to be in this.
The Walk.
The Walk.
Yeah.
Man on Wire was the documentary.
Yeah.
The Walk.
Man on Wire, then Bird on a Wire,
Right. Bird on a Wire.
and then The Wire.
I like Bird on a Wire. It's silly.
I'm going to wreck-a-warn Midsummer.
Oh.
I think Ari Aster is a human wreck-a-warn making machine, because Hereditary is like this too. Ended up on second, third viewings of Hereditary really liking that movie. Not sure that Midsummer will be classified into that. I like the underlying theme of this movie, which is a bad relationship ready to end, essentially. I just don't like how it goes about it. I like how it looks pretty, and I like how it's a different way to explore this type of thing. A bad relationship, this is the type of thing, and then it sort of buries us under a whole bunch of like symbolic stuff by the end of it. And I know a lot of people like to dissect a movie and like, oh, look at all these symbols. Look at these symbols. I found meaning from that later on when I did some research and all that. That doesn't make a movie good to me. I've been at war with myself on these situations in movies the past few years that have been lauded for their like, oh, look at all these deeper meanings that they threw in there. And I don't know if that necessarily means the movie's good. Like you could make a total piece of shit and just have like symbols all the way through it. And if you went and go research it and it makes you feel smart that you figured out what those symbols are, then you suddenly, I'm going to look at that movie, that piece of shit, way, way more than I would.
You just described the game Myst, by the way.
Yeah. I did.
That's interesting.
I hate to say that because I do like parts of this movie. I think the movie works on its whatever level it's trying to work on, but it's just that there's so much in here that's like abhorrent violence in this. There's just all explained away by, well, this is just the way things are and so on and so forth, and it's like, yeah, but we don't need to see all that.
Yeah.
We don't. There's nothing but other than you making an audience cringe and feel uncomfortable, and I'm not on board with that. And I don't get offended or like, super like creeped out by things that in general, like I'm very like desensitized to a lot of things. Holy shit, though. Midsummer really strains that.
Dude, if it strains you, I don't even know if I'm going to watch this.
I mean, everything I've heard about this movie is that. Is that... Now, I haven't seen it, but it seems to be, in many circles, getting celebrated simply for its excess. And I don't know if that's my kind of jam.
I don't know. I would also say in this Wreck-a-Warn, you would have trigger warning type stuff in here, because right off the bat, Florence Pugh, who is amazing in this, and this is probably the main reason why this is a recommend, is great. She plays this woman who is concerned about her sister, who has left some cryptic emails to her and has not gotten back to her in a week or something. Says something to the effect of, I'm going into the dark now and mom and dad are coming too. And after a week of not hearing from them, we can let our imaginations run wild as to what happened there. this while she's concerned about that, she's trying to tell her boyfriend, yeah, I'm very worried about this. And her boyfriend is like, just doesn't want to hear it anymore, I guess. He's a dick. He's a bad boyfriend. When he talks about this with his buds are like, dude, you totally need to get rid of her, man, because gee, she always talks about herself and blah, blah, blah. When this is a dead fucking serious thing that she's talking about. Like, I didn't connect to those guys or those bros at all. I know there's probably people like that out in the world. I just don't know them, I guess. Like, I don't know of anybody who would be in a relationship and their girlfriend that they apparently love tells them, I'm very concerned about my family, and it's like, don't worry about it. It'll settle itself, blah, blah, blah. When this turning point happens early on in the film, he's been planning this trip to go to, I believe it's Sweden. God damn it.
Yeah, I think from what I've read, it's Sweden.
Yeah. It's him, the dude bros, and there's this guy who is from Sweden who's in the part of their group and everything. They are going out there. One of them for sure is going out there to make an anthropological study. And another guy, he's not the boyfriend guy, he's not decided what he's really wanting to do and everything, but he has to write a thesis of some sort. And he doesn't tell the girlfriend that's what they've been planning. And then it's like a week before the trip, they bring it up in conversation, and she's like, "Oh, really? Are you actually going to do this?" And he's like, "I haven't decided yet." And all the dude bros are like, "Of course you've decided. We're going." And so he events sort of like Pity invites her to this retreat, this sort of, not retreat, but sort of a commune, place that's in the middle of nowhere, Sweden. And so like right off the bat they're getting acclimated to this commune and everything, but if the whole point of this is to show how much of a dick he is and I wish they had added more character to this.
He's
boyfriend.
just a straight up dick.
He is. There's nothing to him at all. If he had something that let me in to his character, then I would feel a little bit more devastated, or I might even feel like a little bit like by the time this movie ends, there are things that happen to characters where you're like, okay, yeah, that seems just for what they've been putting us through this whole time. But like if they'd given some of these people a little bit more character, I would have been a little bit more on board with this. I don't like movies that just give you as this guy is a one-dimensional cock. Doesn't work for me. I know it works in the motif that you're putting up here, where it's like, oh, bad relationships. Girls shouldn't have to put up with this. I get it. I understand. But the guy is going to be more than this for sure.
Yeah.
So I felt a little empty about that. Movie shot beautifully. It will make you go, what the fuck, all the way through. There's some actual like unexpected humor in it. But yeah, violence is way up. It's on the 10 scale.
Yeah. I'm going to stay away.
So
don't assign me this for sins purposes, please.
Oh, you will not get it for sins purposes. It's a debatable as to whether we would even send this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I warn this because I can tell that there's a filmmaker who knows what he's doing behind the camera. He made exactly the movie that he wanted to make. There are things about it that I feel are flawed, and I don't think symbolism makes movies great.
There you go.
Right.
Good.
I got a quick recommend.
All right.
Oh, I think you'd love this movie.
Is it got a lot of porn in it and nudity, like My Reputation?
No, there's no titties in this at all.
Well, then why would you think I would like it?
Yeah.
There is an Elijah Wood.
All right, well, that makes up for titties.
Yeah.
It's called I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore.
Okay, I've heard
and it's
of
on
this.
Netflix. And it's got Melanie Linsky as the main character.
Oh, I love Melanie Linsky.
She's fantastic. And Elijah Wood. And it's directed by your boy Macon Blair, who was in Blue Ruin and The Green Room.
Yeah.
This is his directorial debut. And it starts off as this quirky little indie type of thing. Melanie Linsky, her character, is disillusioned by the world. Everybody's an asshole. She's picking up trash for people. like she's a nursing assistant and like the patients are abusive and stuff like that. Quirky little thing. She complains, and then her house gets broken into.
Mm-hmm.
And then from that period on, this movie turns fucking bonkers.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not even going to spoil any of it. All I'll say is that Elijah Wood is one of her neighbors who's like a super like enthusiastic, like over the top, listens to hair metal and like works out in his driveway and everything, has a bunch of weapons, but they're not effective weapons. Like he's got ninja stars and shit that he's accurate with. And it's awesome. It's super fun.
Oh,
and
yeah?
it turns like every turn that you think is logically possible, it'll take a different turn, and it's very entertaining.
What's it called again?
I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore, and it's based on the old Christian song that probably all of you guys have heard. The angels beckon me from heaven's open shores, and I don't feel at home in this world anymore.
Nope. That's
Anyway.
probably one of them Baptist songs.
Yeah,
Wasn't a Baptist song.
nah, Church of Christ was my
Well,
bag.
all
Or
right.
Methodist. I was even Steven.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's super fun. You should totally watch it. It's fairly short. It's like 90 minutes or something like that. It's funny, and it's freaky, and it's fun.
I think you freaky.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's recommended.
I'm going to recommend a new documentary on HBO called I Love You, Now Die.
Oh, I saw
Ooh,
that on
ooh.
there. I didn't watch it, but I saw it.
Also made into a feature called Midsummer.
This is a documentary about the court case of the gal in Massachusetts that goaded her boyfriend
Oh, yes.
into killing himself over text message.
Oh.
And the first part is the prosecution, and the second part is the defense. And they both contain interviews with people on both sides of the case. There's one of the main guys interviewed is a reporter for, I think he covered the case back in 2015 or whatever for Variety or Vanity Fair or Esquire, one of those publications. And so he's interviewed a lot because he spent a lot of one-on-one time with the girl and then the kid's parents. Great doc. I'm oddly becoming a fan of these true crime documentaries. This is a fascinating case because it was something. Basically, it was a charge that had never been tried before.
Very
in that you were
nuanced,
charging, they charged her with manslaughter, even though he took his own life. And it mostly hinges, as it should, on the fact that he got out of the car, changed his mind, and she goaded him to get back in. And that had it been just up to him, he would have chosen not to end his life that night. But
Okay.
this girl spent months. Are you going to do it tonight? Are you going to do it tonight? Are you going to do it tonight?
She's literally telling him to kill himself.
He's saying he wants to the whole time. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it this time. But I'm telling you, by the end of this documentary, I felt sympathy for her.
Yeah.
Because what I did not know about the case, that's pretty much what I knew about the case, what I could read in a newspaper. But a lot of the text messages she sent to him and posts she would make on Instagram, things she would text to her other friends, were quotes from Glee. Specifically, the gal whose boyfriend was on that show and killed himself.
Yeah. What's his name? Cody?
Yes,
something?
Corey Monteith.
Corey Monteith, yeah.
And her, Leah Michelle.
Yeah.
She was obsessed with this girl. She would have conversations with this boyfriend where all of her lines were lines of dialogue from that girl's character from Glee. And you begin to see this picture of somebody who's...
Is she mentally ill?
Yeah, has to be. In fact, the victim's mother in the second part of the documentary at one point is looking at the camera and says, there's no question that she's sick.
Huh.
And that's all I'll say about it.
Huh.
And she was in some weird way trying to mimic and mirror Leah Michelle's life by having a boyfriend that killed himself. She hosted a benefit to raise money in his name, and she hosted it in her town, not the town he lived in 20 miles away. And all of his friends were like, can you move it here to our town?
Huh.
Because we want to pay tribute to him, and she wouldn't do it because she wanted the attention on her. She smiled the whole goddamn day. It was a softball tournament. She had a blast.
Wow.
Because all the attention was on her because she'd recently lost this boyfriend. It's troubling. It's murky. It's there's nobody that Like, I can't blame her completely because she is sick, but he's dead because of her, and there's really no question in my mind. So the case, I watched it because the case fascinated me when it was in the news, and so I assumed, as was the case, it would shed new light on everything, and I was surprised to come away.
I'm going to watch the
with
shit
sympathy
out of
for
this.
her.
Did you since you were talking about the crime docs and everything, and you're obsessed with them and everything? Did you? I know you never listened to Serial, the podcast or anything, but did you watch the case against Adnan Syed, which is also awesome too, especially if you did listen to the podcast, because it sort of like, because it's an updated thing. It doesn't have lots of new information, but it does have new ways of looking at information, which they didn't back when the Serial podcast was going on and everything. That's another one that's excellent too, and that goes over like 4 episodes.
Yep,
or something
I watched
like
all
that.
of them.
Yeah.
I didn't follow it as well because I had not listened to Serial, but I'm eating them up. I watched another one last night called Behind Closed Doors, about a 12-year-old in India who was killed, and the only other person that was in the house beside her parents was their servant, and he was arrested, but maybe didn't do it. And it's an interesting look. I did not know a lot about Indian culture going into this. That probably just shows my American ignorance. But the upper class in India speak English, and the lower class don't. And a lot of this case hinged on class warfare and perception of different classes, and I thought it was pretty fascinating.
That shit is still prevalent. Like it's just ingrained into society.
I mean, when I was watching that documentary, I was surprised it was modern day. Yeah.
And I can feed even more to you if you haven't seen them. And we've talked about it a bunch, but if you haven't seen the Paradise Lost stuff,
I saw 2 documentaries about the West Memphis 3, and I don't think either of them were Paradise Lost.
Yeah, there's
a million of them.
Yeah, there were 2 that came out in like 2011, 12, somewhere around there. That's when they actually got released. There's Paradise Lost 3, which is one of them, and then the one that was another independent documentary that was shot about their release there, and the fucked up way they had to do it, where they had to profess guilt but not but then be released based on some technicality of some sort. But the first 2 of those, it's interesting to watch those as they piece things together, because those first 2 are almost just outdated at this point.
Oh yeah.
Because the first one was made in the 90s, and they hadn't even really thought of some of the shit that ended up coming to light later on. Paradise Lost 2 was sort of, okay, we know a little bit more now. I mean, by 2, you're like, yeah, these guys didn't do it for sure. But like, there's all this other interesting shit that keeps coming up. And then by 3, I think the filmmakers themselves are like, yeah, we probably should have like not speculated so much about things that back then, because in part 2 they make a huge case that this one father may have done it, and he's by 3 and the other documentary, he's like one of the big champions and heroes of the whole story. Wow. But watching those in order would be fascinating at this point, considering what we know now and everything. Feeding more into your crime obsession.
Do it.
You should watch those at least. The first one, I will give a trigger warning for that one, because they do show the images of the boys in the creek at the very beginning of it, and it's a far away shot, but it will devastate you.
Yeah.
It's like that shot in Brokeback Mountain,
where
Ledger's like telling the story of the guy that got beat to death for being gay, and that's pretty horrific. And then they flash back and they show you his view as like a 9-year-old, and then they zoom in really close. I'm just like,
I'm gonna recommend, and it's a movie we've all seen, John Wick 3.
Oh baby, sometimes you just gotta cut a motherfucker.
That will be a line that we will be saying for some time.
Oh, this
the
movie's
legend.
so goddamn fun.
Yeah, it is. I think all of us I'm speaking out of my ass, but maybe all of us weren't like too terribly excited about John Wick 3.
No.
John Wick 2 wasn't like like anything life changing in any way, and it was fun and whatever. But like a third one, more of that same thing over and over, it doesn't really appeal to us. But maybe it's because it's been out a while now, and we're away from any kind of hype that it might have had, and all of that. We all watched this movie and just we were laughing. We were like having the best time ever watching this thing.
It's one of the funniest movies I've seen this year.
Yeah,
really
and violence being funny, essentially.
It's a Looney Tunes cartoon.
Yeah.
Oh, those horse kicks. My
Oh, I know.
The movie is. I need to watch it again.
Mm-hmm.
But after a few days of reflection, it's very close to the Raid movies in my book.
It is.
In terms of just long, sustained, frenetic, unbelievable, highly choreographed action. Oh, God.
I like this better than the first two.
I do too.
Way
What's
more.
funny about it is that by the end of the first fight with all the throwy knivey things, dude is exhausted, and you're exhausted watching it.
Yeah.
Because he's already mowed through fucking like 10, 12 like highly trained assassins, and just from throwing alone, like he's just
it's like 2.5 minutes finding all the pieces to put together an old-timey gun so he can fire one shot at a guy coming through the door. I thought, like, oh, you're in a weapons museum. This is going to be lame, and it turned out to be amazing.
No, everything plays on expectations beautifully.
It sets that up so great because like they're fighting at one point, and then like they both get worn out, and then they both instinctively smash the glass cases with the knives in it and just start throwing.
They're looking at, they're like, oh shit, this has been here
I'll
the
tell
whole
you,
time.
there's something else. I don't know if they meant this for this to be funny at all, but this is the kind of like movie we're in. There's a moment where he's running out, and this is before he gets on the motorcycles. He takes out the two guys on the motorcycles, and you're like, and in my head, I'm like, okay, he's won. He's going to get on the motorcycle and drive off. That's not what happens. He takes those two guys out, then pulls a helmet off of one dude and just starts beating him. And I don't know if they meant for that to be funny, but the timing of that is great. And maybe it's just something that affects me because my expectation is once those guys have like slid 50 feet and crashed into a wall, that's it. All he has to do is take the motorcycle and go.
Yep.
But instead he's like, no, I got to beat the fuck out of these guys first and then take the motorcycle. And
then later in that scene, he grabs a bad guy's arm and shoves it into the spokes of a wheel of the motorcycle and crashes.
Yeah.
He puts his hand in there. God damn. This
If
movie
you're
was-
going to make a hyper-realized world like this where assassins are all among us and they have this secret society and everything, and the action follows suit, this is how you make it.
Yeah.
And the first John Wick was great. John Wick 2 was fun. This movie, I think, blows both of them out.
Yeah, I think it's a different movie altogether. And I liked the first John Wick. I didn't love it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second one, I was like, okay, I'm pretty much done with this. This is going to go the route of the Taken movies. And I read an article that the director, who again is Keanu's stunt double from previous films, and this is his directorial debut, all three of these movies, he had Keanu write down a list of all the stuff he could do because he was going to do all of it. And that's why you have Keanu riding a horse in this movie, because he can ride a horse. He'd learned how to ride a horse for another movie. And the movie really feels like that, where like we're going to use old-timey guns, we're going to use future guns, we're going to use regular revolvers, we're going to use Glocks, we're going to use knives, we're going to use swords, we're going to use axes, we're going to use horses. Oh, man, it's awesome.
All of it feels authentic, though. Like I was fully prepared to roll my eyes when I saw the horse going down the street and all that stuff. But it made narrative sense where he goes, and it pays off that whole horse kick thing. God damn.
He does it twice.
He does it twice.
Yeah.
The first time is shocking, and it let out like a big ha. The second time, you're like, oh, they're going back to the, oh, that's awesome.
And then Halle Berry and her dog show up.
Yeah. And the dog stuff is amazing.
But I was going to say, Halle Berry's fine. Could have been anyone. The dogs fucking steal that entire scene.
Yes.
The way they not only go after people on command, but they're just fucking vicious. It's like Doctor Strange's cloak beating the fuck out of that one bad guy over and over.
And again, this action is comedy because a lot of times you forget that they're available to show up in a shot, And like you're like, okay, those dogs are taking care of those guys. Then it'll go to Keanu, it'll go to Halle Berry, and you're like, okay, all right. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, dogs show up. You know, and it's fantastic. Yeah, I can't recommend John Wick 3 enough, and it might be one of my favorite movies this year.
It is. Well, I even tweeted that night. It's the most fun I've had at the movies all year. And that includes Spider-Man: Far From Home and Avengers: Endgame. Like that. This movie is just fucking fun.
Yeah,
and
it's a perfect movie to see with your friends too.
Yeah, because that laughter can be contagious.
I mean, I would enjoy the crap out of it if I saw it by myself, but it was better with all of us saying like, "Holy shit!"
Well, because he throws like the fifth knife in that dude, and you think maybe one more. But he ends up throwing like 9 more knives at that guy. And it gets to a point, it's like David Letterman always said, repetition equals laughs. It gets to a point where it's no longer funny, but he keeps going, and it gets even more funny at that point.
The Simpsons had a debate about this in one of their commentaries, in one of the early episodes, about how Homer falling down the stairs. At first it's funny, and then you make it go longer, and you're like, okay, this joke's gone too far, and then you make it go farther than that, and that's when you get the bigger laughs out of it and everything. Tangentially related, I did see that movie that you were talking about, the Always Be My Maybe.
Oh yeah,
where Keanu Reeves has that cameo in there, and the funniest part of that, you mentioned some really funny parts, but my favorite part is the casual, at the end of the dinner, Randall Park's going to like help pay for what his end is. And Keanu Reeves is like, he's like, oh no, Keanu Reeves is like, oh no, I already paid for the entire dinner using a residual from one of my hit movies, Speed.
Yeah. Because it's like $16,000 or something like that. He says it's so casual. Did you like the movie?
Yeah.
That whole sequence. That's another example of like, you think you know the joke.
Yeah.
And it's funny.
Mm-hmm.
But he takes it to a different level, especially when they get back to the hotel.
I got a bad feeling about this Bill and Ted movie, though.
Oh, well, sure.
Like, he's having a good year, but I don't think that movie's going to be any good.
Yeah, it's got Anthony Carrigan in it from Barry. So it could be good.
Yeah, he's good. I'll watch him in anything. We'll A those cues.
We'll A the cues.
Question. I got something to say. I want the truth. I am listening.
Yeah, we're finally going to do some questions. I know it's been a while. Mm-hmm. We've missed it. And we got some good ones.
By the way, keep them coming. I know that they don't get answered often. We do get around to them when we can, but there's been sort of like the faucets like been turned off on those questions.
Yeah, bring them. All right, I've got 2 picked out that are really, really good. Hello from New Brunswick, Canada.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how they talk up
Why
there.
the fuck did I use that accent?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's great.
You must be from Toronto.
You sound like you're from Nova Scotia.
New Brunswick sounds like it's British.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's not.
Anyway, A. Hello from New Brunswick, Canada.
Oh, no.
Are there any scores or soundtracks to films that aren't considered to be iconic? This person says Star Wars, Jaws, anything by John Williams, really, or may have been forgotten, that if you're in a different room and you hear it, you can say, oh, hey, you're watching blank.
Non-iconic score that you can recognize immediately. For me, it's Sneakers.
Ooh, definitely.
James Horner did the score. That's probably why.
The Horn Dog.
Yeah. Horner, Horner has a certain, like, there's certain things from that movie that you can hear in Apollo 13 and you can hear in what else? I think A Beautiful Mind. Mm-hmm. There's some things, some themes he likes to use over and over again. He did Sneakers before any of those movies, and Sneakers has a lot of those, like, just song moments that pop up in similarly pop up in like Apollo 13 and I think Braveheart and Titanic and all of those. But I love the Sneakers one. It's got this kind of a jazzy score, and then it's got his usual like awesome cinematic score mixed in with it too. But yeah, I can pick out Sneakers pretty well, pretty easily.
Yeah, I dig. What you
I
got?
like. I think probably plenty of people think this is a score that should be iconic if it's not Pixar fans. But the score from Up, I probably sing more often than any other Giacchino score. It's that doodle-doo,
Oh, yeah.
doodle-doo, doodle-doo, doo-doo. And it's just very kind of light and airy and speaks to one of the things that Giacchino's best at is using a simple piano melody to convey a deep human emotion. He's done it on Lost. He does it in Star Trek Into Darkness. And I think he does it with that Up, that doodle-doo. Anyway, so that was my answer for that one.
Wow.
And also, I was going to say, I don't think the Shawshank Redemption score is iconic. I'm not sure too many people could sing it from memory, but every time I watch that movie, my wife comes in the room and goes, "Is that Shawshank?" And she can tell from the score.
And Thomas Newman, sort of will copy stuff from that in other scores. You'll hear it in Finding Nemo.
Yeah.
Especially when they're in the net and all that. That sounds a lot like Shawshank and everything. But, Shawshank's good. I think it may have been nominated for an Oscar, though.
Really?
That score. But that's one that you easily could figure out if you hear it in another room.
I've got some recent ones. La La Land, obviously, is. I mean, you could play probably 3 notes from like City of Stars or like Waste of a Lovely Night and stuff like that, and I could probably pick it out. But what I've found myself really like gravitating to is the Phantom Thread score from Johnny Greenwood. Super recognizable, and one of the most iconic scores in a Paul Thomas Anderson movie. I mean, I couldn't sing you "There Will Be Blood." That score.
There's not much.
It's based on that Baptist hymn. There will be blood. There will be blood. Right?
There's power, power in your bed and the blood.
There Will Be Blood is very minimalist. There's
is.
not much to it. There's really just only little accents that show up in that movie. It's mostly silent throughout.
Yeah, and Boogie Nights is basically all like songs. Now, Punch Drunk Love has an excellent soundtrack too, very percussive and stuff like that. But Phantom Thread is the most recognizable, I think. You also got Mark Mothersbaugh in Thor Ragnarok, which is just so 80s and cheesy and like awesome.
I heard him on I think it was Mark Maron talking about how he had done this great piece of music for the scene that they ended up replacing with an immigrant song.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
He did this great piece of music and they were going to use it and everything, but I don't know if it was because the trailer had it in there and they decided last minute.
Which one? Because they used it
twice. It's at towards the end, like when the big battle,
the Rainbow Bridge.
Yeah.
See, they already used the immigrant song in the beginning.
Yep.
They didn't need to use it again.
Yeah.
They
It's
should've
like
done
that. It's like that Jack White song in Justice League. They use it for it's like Aquaman's theme.
Oh yeah, fucking
Hoobie-
Nicky Thump.
I call it Hoobie Stank, but yes.
By the way,
I found a reason for me.
we were looking for names for the new dog, and Hoobastank was.
No.
no.
It ended up being Wicked.
You know, when Us came out, right after that, and ever since, that restaurant chain that's not White Castle,
Crystal
has been running those commercials with "I Got 5" on it.
No man.
And like the first time I started seeing them, because you hear that, ba-doom, doom, and I was like, and I look over, and for about a few weeks, I was like, man, Jordan, you should have like got more rights than just if you knew it was going to be that big a part of your movie's marketing, because now they're just stealing your thunder. But ultimately, I think they're also marketing his movie.
Yeah, and it's so associated with that horror stuff that somebody actually dubbed that soundtrack under the Cats trailer.
Oh wow.
And Jordan Peele responded to it on Twitter. He was like, yeah, that's awesome.
I mean, I see both sides of the Cats thing. Yes, it looks horrifying, and how did you expect it to look any different?
Yep.
That's what Cats has always been.
Yeah, I was going to avoid it either way.
Yeah.
By the way, have you seen Us again?
I have not, but I do have it
You
on
have it,
Blu-ray
right?
now.
I bought it. I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, I can't
excited
wait
to.
to watch it again.
Me too.
All right. What 2 actors would you love to see play main roles in a movie together, either because they have never been in a movie together or because you just like seeing them together? I went with one where they've never been in a movie together, except a technicality. Okay. Match Point. 2005, Woody Allen.
Mm-hmm.
One of his first departures from his neurotic New York City
Tennis fucking.
Tennis
Yes.
fucking. And murder.
And murder.
And it's Scarlett Johansson, or Johansson, if you will.
Yeah.
And
I won't.
and Jonathan Rhys-Meyers, who's perfectly fine. He's this former tennis pro that has now turned into giving lessons, and they're in the UK, they're in London, I think, outside of London, and he becomes embroiled with this femme fatale character played by Scarlett Johansson, and she is scorching in this movie.
Yep.
She is absolutely you can feel heat coming off of the screen. Not to be misogynistic or anything like that, or being
That's her
focusing
role,
too much.
though.
That is her role, and she plays it perfectly. Jonathan Rhys-Meyers is fine in that role. I mean, he's a good actor. He's capable and stuff like that. But if you replace him with somebody like Jude Law, that would amp up the sexiness to like 15, and to where like you would just be ejaculating like spontaneously.
That's what I like doing watching movies is ejaculating
it's spontaneous. So you just look down like, oh,
yeah.
Yep.
and they have never been in a movie together, Jude Law and Scarlett Johansson, except for fucking Captain Marvel, only because he plays in the main movie, and at the very end credit thing is her
that
showing up.
That doesn't count.
That doesn't
It
count.
doesn't count.
That
So
doesn't
they've
count.
never been in a movie together. Can you imagine like talented Mr. Ripley-esque
It's like
Jude Law with Scarlett Johansson in Match Point?
It's like De Niro and Pacino weren't really in Godfather 2
Right.
together. That's why that was such a big deal when they were in Heat.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I thought you were making a gesture of some sort.
I wrote down Leo and Clooney because I think they're both A-list and they're both great actors, but one is intense and one is cool. Leo's intense and Clooney's cool.
He's a real goofball, that Clooney.
He can be. And we've seen Clooney with Brad Pitt. Now we've got Leo with Brad Pitt in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, in America. Once upon a time in Marilyn Manson. But we've never seen Leo and Clooney together. But then I thought of a real answer where I think that girl from Happy Death Day, who's been in a bunch of stuff, but I'd never seen her or known who she was until Happy Death Day. I think she has a really good energy.
She
and
does.
I'd like to see her play off of Anna Kendrick. I think they would play very well off of one of them.
Yeah, Jessica Roth.
Jessica Roth, yeah.
Well, she's got a did you ever watch A Simple Plan? A simple favor.
Yeah, I saw
Not
Simple
yet.
Favor.
Did you like it?
Oh, yeah.
It's very similar to Blake Lively and Anna Kendrick.
Okay.
Like they had a great chemistry in that movie.
Interesting.
So I could totally see this.
All right.
Yeah.
Clooney and Leo haven't been in a movie together?
Yeah, it's a weird, right? They do have the same, similar beginnings, right? Like every time anybody talks about Clooney, they're like, "Oh, he was on Roseanne
Facts of Life.
or
Facts
Facts of
of
Life,"
Life.
and DiCaprio was on some
Growing Pains.
Growing Pains, yeah. So those
Show
are
me
those
that
are the same show.
smile again.
Show me that smile.
Those
Don't
are
waste
another
minute on you crying. If they got together, they would totally call him Cleo.
Do you remember the season?
No.
Do you remember the season of Growing Pains where the theme song was sung by an a cappella choir?
Yes. Oh, of course I do.
Just saying.
Earlier this year, a movie that I have not seen and probably will not see, The Hustle came out. That was the Dirty Rotten Scoundrels remake with Anne Hathaway and Rebel Wilson. I like Rebel Wilson fine, but I would have rather seen Anna Kendrick and Anne Hathaway together in that movie, and being grifters and things like that. I don't. Rebel Wilson doesn't scream to me like someone who can fool a whole bunch of people, and it just doesn't work. I think Anna Kendrick and Anne Hathaway is the more appropriate team up there. They don't have to do The Hustle together, but I would just like to see any movie with them together.
Yeah.
Because I think that they have similar sensibilities. I think they'd have chemistry together. I would definitely want to see a movie with both of them in it.
Do the hustle.
And of course, I didn't do any collaboration checks on any of this type of thing. So who knows? Maybe they have, but I don't remember
Nothing
any.
springs to mind. I did watch Love and Other Drugs for a few minutes the other day.
Yeah.
It was a non-nude scene for like 12 minutes straight.
Yeah,
it's hard to believe.
No boobies.
That's it.
Hard to
That's
believe.
nearly impossible to do. That's like Sandra Bullock landing in water and the gravity.
By the way, I think she's terrific in that movie. I think she's a terrific actress.
Anne
overall.
Hathaway?
Yeah.
I think she's great.
Yeah.
I think she's great. I think she knows she's really good.
Yep. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It makes
Okay.
perfect sense.
I think she's great.
Also, Christian Bale and Sean Penn, just because of the method.
Oh my God! Can you imagine how insufferable that set would be?
Yes.
Oh God! You can't look anybody in the eye. Like,
throw in Daniel Day-Lewis.
Or Jared Leto. He goes super method.
Oh, dude, that would be the best fucking thing ever. You get a director who could deal with that.
Who would that be? That would be the most affable person
Maybe
alive.
Scorsese.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Frank Oz somewhat had to deal with that with the score. Because Marlon Brando and Edward Norton and
God.
De Niro are all on that one. But like, I find the method interesting. I don't think it's required to be a good actor.
Right.
It obviously comes up with some very interesting and raw and real type of thing, but I would like to hear. I think the story of that, the behind the scenes, would be the best movie.
Who can out method each other?
Yeah, like all of them. Like, don't talk to me. I'm in character. You know,
I lost 15 pounds last night.
That's right. Well, I lost.
You didn't need to.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I lost 10, and I lost. They would just be topping each other with all the physical deformations they could make to their body. All right, so that'll do it for this week. Keep going to Sincast presented by Cinemasins on Facebook. We have a Cinemasins Twitter, an MVS Twitter. We're on Discord. I may have to give you a little link to that if you want. Go to Facebook for that. There's a bunch of ways that you can come and talk about this very episode.
Yeah,
and
make sure to subscribe. Tell everybody about our show. Let's spread the word. Let's let everybody know how much fun you're having and that we're having together.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we have two other podcasts. We have Behind the Sins, which just really is releasing their best episode yet as of this week.
Is it because that you're on it?
Mm-mm.
You're not
that
on
was
it?
the worst one.
No, that was the worst one.
But that is going on. That's with Aaron and Jonathan and Danae. Fantastic show. And then we still have our Barry podcast starting now that just dropped the Ronnie Lilly episode, which is really fun.
I get the feeling that's an important episode.
That is the important episode.
Yeah.
No, not the. There's a lot of them. But
I can't. You didn't see the second season of Barry, did you?
Nope.
I suggest you watch just that one episode.
Yep.
Because you don't need to know anything else.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a
like
standalone episode.
I watched the Teddy Pendergast episode of Atlanta, and I've never seen any of that show, and I was thoroughly entertained.
Yeah, I think you may want to watch the rest of the season after you see that one, but just watch that one.
Okay.
I highly recommend the season 2, episode 5.
Yeah.
Ronnie Lilly.
Yeah.
But that'll do it for this week. It's Chris Atkins and Jeremy Scott and Barrett Sher. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit cinemasins.com.
Then he comes out with
yeah,
this
I do
fucking
remember
duet with Chris Brown on Chris Brown's new album, and I'm like, oh,
He's
that's
on
what.
it?
Yeah, he's like the first single was him and.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
but then the other day, after the whole ASAP Rocky Trump trying to get him out of jail thing, Bieber tweeted, I want him out, but I also want all these kids at the border out too.
all
Can you
these
do anything
kids in
about that?
cages.
And I'm like, God damn it, Bieber!
You don't like. I cannot stand his music these days.
No, he's not. I think that "Love Yourself" was the last song he made that I thought was worth.
Well, that album, which had "Sorry" on it, which had "Love Yourself" on it, which was written by Ed Sheeran, I think. It was played by Ed Sheeran. It was called "Purpose" was the album.
Okay.
That album was fucking boss.
Okay.
But also, he was singing. Now he's auto-tuning everything. That motherfucker has a voice of an angel, and he's auto-tuning
He
everything.
auto-tunes on that Ed Sheeran "I Don't Care" song.
Yes. That's his whole sound now. It's the same as the no-brainer thing that he did with DJ Khaled.
Oh, yeah.
So that's his thing. And he redid the fucking, they did a remix of the Billie Eilish song.
That was
Bad Guy.
That was bad.
His verse sucks, and he's fucking auto-tuned the
Did
whole
you
time.
hear the new Taylor song?
No. Is it good?
I heard it one time.
The Archer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sleepy.
Really? We're talking about the new Taylor Swift.
I haven't heard that yet.
We just listened to a snippet of it. It's a snoozer.
Yeah? Man, every time somebody comes out with something new, Twitter blows up and's like, it's the best fucking thing I've ever heard in my goddamn life.
I'm about ready to just quit Twitter. Now that they've updated this layout.
What is your deal with it? I don't have an issue with it.
Well, that doesn't mean you're right and I'm wrong.
Well, plus mine changed like 3 weeks ago.
Well,
did yours just update recently?
Yeah, some people changed, but it seems like the bulk of people changed in the 24 hours that mine changed.
No, yeah, and that's why I was surprised, because I was already used to it, I guess.
It's frustrating because I have to hit the back button a lot more. I used to be able to click on a tweet and it would open in a hover window, and I could click anywhere on the outside of it, anywhere. Yeah. And it would go away and go back to the timeline. Now, if I click on a tweet, it takes me to a new feed, and I have to go up to a very specific back blue arrow. Yeah. And that's that adds up.
I agree.
That adds up. Every little penny adds up. Just watch fucking Office Space.
By the way, speaking of climbing a fence, I've been watching that Taken 3 fence climbing scene on repeat because I made an outtake that references it. And it's funny. Somebody did a YouTube video that said stunt coordinator for Taken 3 explains the fence jumping scene. Mm-hmm. So I clicked on it. It was only like 5 minutes. And it's this dude. He's like, I was the stunt coordinator for Taken 3, basically because nobody else wanted it, and the producer's my uncle. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, okay. And then he's like, well, he breaks it down frame by frame. He's like, Liam Neeson is really the best run actor on the planet right now. So this is actually him running. And then when he gets up on the fence, he's actually on the fence. He's one of the best fence climbing actors on the planet.
Indeed.
And then he's like, we set up camera A, camera B, camera C, and then he's like, then we added so many that we ran out of letters in the alphabet, and we wanted to use every single one of them.
Why?
Oh my God.
It's totally a joke video, but that's how they explain all the cuts.
Oh God, you had me going there for a second.
Yeah, me too. I totally thought that was what it was.
I mean, it's a viable explanation.
Yeah, it is.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Well, it's like I think The Onion when it was Fast 5 came out. They talked to the screenwriter, and they were talking to this like 7-year-old kid. He's like, and then the car goes up and it crashes through the twain. Kills me in Fast and the Furious is how many times you'll see them driving like in insane speed, and yet they still have some other gear they can get into.
They got an 8-gear sports car.
And it's always like done in this weird editing fashion where I don't even think the shift is going anywhere. I just think they hit it.
Yeah.
And then it looks like, oh yeah, man, he really means it.
Not to mention, if you hit the clutch at that speed, the fucking transmission is just going to fly out of the car.
You're screwed.
Yeah.
They're actually, I've forgotten this in Gone in 60 Seconds. He's got the NOS thing on the Eleanor.
Yeah.
Because he's chasing, the cops are chasing him through the LA River
for
and
like
all
an
that.
hour and a half. They're chasing him forever.
And all this, and he's like super calm, even though everybody's coming. He's got a fucking helicopter coming after him. He's super calm, and he's like, "Oh yeah, never seen before." Flips up the gear shift. He's got the fucking NOS. And he outruns the fucking helicopter.
Yeah.
And then the cops are like, "We lost him."
Yeah. If only we had invested in NOS.
He goes straight to the fucking evil Blair dude. God damn! I still
like
love that movie.
The helicopter can't even keep up.
Helicopter. It's like the helicopter guy says he's going 125. He's going 150. He's going 175.
He's gone supernova.
Yeah, exactly. But it's a fucking helicopter. It goes very fast too.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
So you still hate that movie?
Gone in 60 Seconds?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, you're allowed to enjoy watching it.
No. I didn't know if like you had found anything redeeming in it.
No, actually, I found like several unredeeming things about it.
Well, I didn't realize how little Angelina Jolie was in there.
She's
just in there for like 60 seconds.
Hey-oh!
Yep.
Yeah, she's useless.
I watched MacGruber. You need to watch Rise of the Cobra.
Oh, it's the Rise of the Cobra that you like?
Yes.
I always thought it was the second one.
No, the second one is fucking trash.
If they could have helped me by just naming the first one G.I. Joe. Call it a day.
Like
but
the Transformers, yeah.
But you gave both of them a subtitle, and I've never really watched either of them all the way through. So Retaliation.
Well, yeah,
Retaliation is the second one.
The subtitle for Rise of the Cobra makes it sound like it's a sequel.
Yes,
It does. I don't know what happened with Chatham.
Yeah, you had it right.
Shading
Tatum.
But yeah, he can't act his way out of a paper bag in this movie, which is crazy because he's such a good actor overall. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, I think, is probably one of my favorite roles he's in.
Okay, debate here and now. Is Channing Tatum a good actor?
Yes. Especially a good comic actor. He's terrific in 21 Jump Street.
Never been entirely on board with Channing Tatum.
I'll give you one example.
21 Jump Street, sure.
Yeah. The drug scene in 21 Jump Street is when he goes into the orchestra and he starts playing all the shit and he's like, woo, fuck you, Miles Davis, and like jumps into the car.
Yeah. No, in 21 Jump Street, he's hilarious.
But see, I feel like a lot of people can be that kind of hilarious.
I think he's consistently hilarious, though, because he's consistent with the straight stuff. He's consistent with like the fuck you science type of thing, and like throws the thing up.
I don't think there's enough data to make a conclusion here.
I think there is.
Where's the good dramatic work being done?
I don't know.
Haywire?
See, like Magic Mike, he's like, I mean, he really puts my brain in like a, I really have to think about it. Like I've never once been like, oh my God, Channing Tatum is knocking it out of the park.
Is not a drama.
Hang on, let me see.
At best, I think you can say he's funny, but I don't think we're there where you could say he's a good actor.
Well, let's see what dramas he's been in.
It's probably not much.
Like
he's in The Hateful Eight for a second.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Jupiter.
He's one of the reveal villains in Hateful Eight.
Oh, he's in Side Effects.
Okay.
He plays the husband in Side Effects.
But just because he's in these movies doesn't make him good.
I thought he was good in Side Effects. He didn't have a huge character arc.
I need to see him in a completely transformative type of like doesn't rely on him being the most handsome person in the room.
What about Dear John?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That's the one anomaly that tells me that he's a great actor.
If they would ever make
Step
this
Up to the Streets?
Oh yeah,
if they would make this Gambit movie, maybe he could show something. But I don't think they're gonna make it. They tried 6 times.
White House Down, he's fine.
No, see, you're not finding any data.
Foxcatcher.
Okay, I'll give you that one.
Okay, Foxcatcher,
I'll give you
probably
that
the closest in that group.
And in Hail Caesar, obviously he doesn't have much of a part, but he's got that whole no dames thing, and he's real chummy and happy and
yeah. You
dancy
know
and
how
shit.
everyone loves that scene?
You don't like it?
No.
Why?
I don't. It feels sterile. It feels like rehearsal. It doesn't.
It is rehearsal.
But you know what I mean. It doesn't have opening night energy. It's stale. Maybe it's just too close on the heels of La La Land, where the musical song and dance numbers that don't make sense within reality were fun and made me smile.
But this does make sense within reality because they're filming it. It's not a stage production.
No, but I just don't like that scene.
Stick out your head, throw out your tush.
That's the one that Christopher Lambert is directing, right?
Yes, where there's the very interesting Christopher Lambert and Josh Brolin, both married to Diane Lane in their times.
Give a big hug.
Yeah. But no,
Logan Lucky.
Okay, but
great in Logan Lucky.
Great. Look, I like that movie. I like him in it. But are we talking about transformative performance? Like something that's just like that tells you that dude right there is one of our best actors.
It's like
I don't think he's one of our best. I think he's just a very good actor.
Mm-hmm. No, okay. That I don't know if he's doing anything that anybody like Jeremy was saying. I don't know if he's doing anything that anybody else can't do.
No, I could buy that.
You can put anybody who's decent in those roles, and he's fine.
I mean, he's above. He's Canoe.
He's better than Keanu.
He's below Daniel Day-Lewis.
He's one of the One Direction guys, and Leonardo is Adele. He's not an amazing singer. He's a good performer though.
I could
People
dig
pay
that.
money to go see his concert.
Yeah.
I think though Leo was in Channing Tatum land like probably 5-6 years ago.
I'd say more like 8 or 9, but I don't disagree that they had a similar.
So he's got
place.
a trajectory.
Back when he was making The Beach and that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Well,
He's got a traj.
But he also had an Oscar nomination.
Channing Tatum's almost 40 now.
Yeah.
So he's getting to a point where he needs to have that. DiCaprio had his like coming out quote unquote moment as a good actor during Gangs of New York, and he was 28 when he did that. So
Was it Gangs of New York? I guess that was probably it. I mean, I would personally think, you're right, I would personally think that it took until Wolf of Wall Street for him to really, maybe Shutter Island. You could maybe say Shutter Island. But I don't think he's like what you're saying. Like, I think anybody could have played that role in Shutter Island. But I don't think, very few people could have gotten to the place that he went to in Wolf of Wall Street. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I think
That was a surprise for me. I mean, even though
Yeah.
I'd seen him in do comedy type things before, like that role right there was a surprise for me. Like you get you feel like you get a sense of somebody. Like it feels like DiCaprio is like one of those guys that doesn't have any sense of humor at all. He's just one of these. He's a good looking dude. He's very successful. He's very serious about that. Blah blah blah. We heard about the pussy posse and all that nonsense, but like. I never thought he had this in him, that Wolf of Wall Street.
No, that one came out of nowhere.
So
I'll tell you what, you watch Molly's Game and you think about Tobey Maguire doing all the dickhead shit that Michael Cera does to her. And it's like, makes me think of Tobey Maguire in a whole new light.
Yeah.
Like, behind, like, he's not Peter Parker, man. He's like, he's the devil.
He's the devil.
Yeah.
If he was even half as mean as Michael Cera's character was, because that's harsh.
Yeah.
Harsh.
And then Robin Thicke came out of his loins.
And
cheated on Paula Patton. His
Yes, he
loins cheated on Paula Patton.
yes.
Yeah, so by proxy, Alan Thicke cheated.
He did. This is why we can't allow Canadians across the border.
I've got sweaty ears.
Yeah. Yep.
That was always my college girlfriend's excuse for not wanting to do it. Not tonight, honey. I have sweaty ears.
Although I do remember Tony and Bruce wanting to figure out the female orgasm in a deleted scene though.
Yeah.
It's only
punching a button.
It's only on the extras, like where they
They made Ant-Man jerk off before they hired him in the Avengers.
They brought Kenzie into the Avengers.
Played by Liam Neeson.
Yeah, they brought in Michael Sheen from that show on
Masters of
Show. Yeah,
Johnson,
Masters. Yeah, brought in that dude. Do you think that any of her comments lately are going to affect this movie at all?
Only if she keeps stepping in it, doesn't she?
Yeah.
I shouldn't even say it. I'll probably even cut this. Is she totally wrong?
Okay, well, I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
I should be able to play a tree?
Yeah. Did she say something specific to race itself? Like, is she saying that she could play a black character or an Asian character or something like that? Or is she just responding?
I don't think it went that far.
Okay.
But I think she did say that I should just be able to play whatever script is thrown in front of me. I should be able to play whatever that character is.
And the counter from people of minorities is that they're not even given the opportunity.
I totally understand that. Yes. Now, and I'm probably stepping in it.
No.
What I think she may have been thinking is that, because we had all this backlash about like Ruby Rose playing Batwoman and stuff like that, you got to have a person like this doing this, and I think this is actually in response to the rub and tug thing that
it is, which is murkier than it's made out to be.
It totally is, and I get both sides of it. I get that she should be able to play a trans man or a trans woman if she wants to, just as Jared Leto played a trans woman in Dallas Buyers Club. But I also understand that the trans people or other characters or minorities can't even get into the casting call. So I totally understand both of them. I don't think she's necessarily wrong, but I think it comes off as tone deaf.
It started with Ghost in the Shell.
Yes, it did.
Yep.
And you can't undo that.
Yep.
And then Rub and Tug, as soon as she backed out and said, okay, I won't play the role, the financing went away.
Yeah.
And so now this movie that would have highlighted a trans person who had an important life is not going to be made. And I think you have to, both sides have to face the fact that we're not living in utopia yet.
Yeah.
We're living in reality.
Yeah, and we're
so
getting there.
Is there an argument for Rub and Tug with Scarlett Johansson? I don't know why I always do that. Like I'm fucking Norwegian.
I'm sure that hockey players.
It's that hockey player.
Yeah, and I'm sure that, like, for real, it is supposed to be Johansson, but we've Englishized it, and she Englishizes it. So
anyway,
it's like Famke Janssen.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you could make an argument that film still at least gets people talking about issues we need to be talking about,
Like Dallas Buyers Club.
Well, yes. What about this gal? What about Euphoria? The Jules character, is that actress trans?
Yes.
Okay. I thought so, but I wasn't sure.
And I believe she does do the feminine pronouns and stuff like that.
She does.
She doesn't do the they and them or anything like that. So there's only 2 that I know of that do that. There's probably more, but
Asia K. Dillon and
the one that's in the daughter in Santa Clarita Diet.
Oh, okay.
Uses they and them pronouns. So I don't know about, but believe the actress in Euphoria uses feminine pronouns.
All right. Well, I just think it's a little bit murky.
Yeah.
And now we're not talking about Phase 4 anymore. Right. It may definitely impact the box.
Yeah, you don't want like someone being the first time listening to this. That's the first thing they hear.
I want to fuck.
Yeah,
jizz in my mouth.
Right.
Like the perfect version of it was the "let me spit in your face."
Yeah.